Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How are you? Big mahalo for tuning in. I appreciate you being on board for this. I hope everything's good in your world and this finds you happy and healthy. Today we're continuing our series of conversations, and it's members of Ringo Starr's All-Starr band ahead of their tour through the Asia Pacific, and our guest is singing some great songs on that tour too. He's on some of the biggest rock tracks of all time, songs on the radio every single day, all over the United States and many other countries, part of the very fabric of many people's lives in a sort of deeper than music cultural way, with Evil Ways, Black Magic Woman, No One to Depend On, Everybody's Everything, just to name a few. This time singing and as the keyboardist and lead vocalist of Santana, followed by no less than 6 albums with Journey, where his rich vocals and tasty keyboard work help bring us feeling that way anytime, just the same way. And many songs that hardcore Island Journey fans remember, including their epic first album classic, Big Here in the Islands, including a song of a lifetime, which in Hawaii had particular meaning. We're grateful to interview him a few years ago, 2006. He came for the Diamond Head Crater in Honolulu, and a pleasure to reconnect with him again as he does this run through our general neighborhood, unfortunately not coming to Hawaii, but nevertheless worth covering with Ringo Starr's All-Starr band. It's Gregg Rolie. A big aloha and mahalo, Greg. Thank you so much for being willing to take a few minutes for us.
Well, how much do I owe you for that introduction? Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome, and it's a pleasure. You've always really, you have a deep connection to the marketplace. It's odd to talk to you right during this week, of course, because we have Journey coming back through town, and you were, like Neil, you have that dual ability to connect with Hawaii beyond just a band. You were here with Santana. You were here with Journey.
Yeah.
You had a real deep, meaningful beginning with your Hawaii connection. When you think of the islands, is there a first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, one of the main things is when I was living in California, I moved to Texas about 5 years ago. But when I lived in California, I took my family to Hawaii. I started going to Hawaii when we started the Crater Festivals. Way back when, in 1970, I guess 69, 70, whatever it was, and I've been taking my family. I took them there. I don't know. I've been to Hawaii 30 times. I go to Kauai to the North Shore, and rent a house out there for a couple of weeks, and we were doing that for easily 30 times. It was my favorite place to go sit on Tunnels Beach and do nothing. It was awesome. And I don't know what it's like now. It's been a while, but it was great. I'll never forget it.
Do you still come out for personal visits? When was your last?
Oh, last time, no, it's been a while because moving to Austin is like, now the flight's like, for the rest of your life. It's not quite as appealing as when I was living on the West Coast.
Ah, I get it. It's a real long one. Right. That makes sense.
The one thing, though, going out with Ringo here to do the Pacific Rim, I was hoping that we'd end up in Hawaii. It would have been terrific.
I mean, that's weird that the band has a couple real Hawaii connections, too. Of course, Todd Rundgren, you mentioned the North Shore of Kauai.
Yeah, I know. I know where he lives. We were talking about that, and I said, yeah, I've been out there, sure. Yeah. And it's a great place. Hawaii it was my favorite.
Sure. Well, you have deep connections. They go back a very long time. It was December of 1970 that you did your first appearance, 2 shows, Blaisdell Arena building. It was called the HIC at the time.
Yeah.
And you went on to do the Crater Festival on New Year's Day of 1971 and 1972. And then I don't know if you participated in that jam that occurred on New Year's Day 73 that Neil was part of. You may have been, like something called Cobra or something like that. It was not. It was like in between Santana and Journey.
You know what? I may have come out for that. I may have done a song or two on that. I know. Hard to remember.
Exactly, and it's hard for, I'm sure, most people. And then, of course, you did Journey's second ever show here. So I guess that's why, in addition to Todd, Ringo's band has a couple people, you included, who have deep connections to the islands. And when we think about deep connections and thinking about Ringo, take us back, if you would. When did and how did the music of the Beatles first have an impact in your life?
Oh, it it had an impact on everybody's life. The whole point about those guys, they've really connected to generations of music lovers, and it's not that easily done. And but they were so prolific. This stuff was it was amazing stuff. So when I was young, the Beatles was everything. I got into music. If they hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have done it. I was going to be an architect, and they were so popular, and I just connected to what they were doing. I remember listening to my little clock radio, this turquoise. I don't know what kind it was. Anyway, this little turquoise clock radio, and I heard "Please Please Me" for the first time on that, and before anybody else recognized them as being what they became, and I was just going, man, this is really cool stuff. And that's before I ever thought about being a musician, and it just went on from there. And then, of course, all my friends, everybody had Beatle boots. Everybody started growing what they called long hair back then. And my God, where I ended up, that was not long hair. I had the first Norwegian afro. So anyway, they had a tremendous impact for me. And the funny part about it is everybody feels the same way that's in this band. Lukather and Richard and Rundgren and Mark Rivera and Greg Bissonette, and everybody has the same connection to it. That it's amazing. You look back. I remember telling Mark Rivera, who's been doing this for 17 years with Ringo. He's a music director, a sax player, all around musician. He plays an awful lot of stuff and sings. I told him, I said, man, this is the 28th date that we just did through the United States, and I still look back and I can't believe I'm doing this. He said, I told you that would happen. It is just amazing because, he's an icon in music. And Ringo is a great man to work for and with, is the best way I can put it, because that's how he makes you feel. It's a very comfortable gig. Everybody loves doing it. He's great to be around, and he travels well.
Meaning that he has a good lifestyle on the road.
Oh man, it's wonderful. It's just a no-brainer gig. It's so much fun. It's unbelievable.
What a thing to put on your resume. And we talked a little before the interview started, and it's true how the band. It's an unusual combination of folks coming together, and a lot of people are not familiar with what exactly a Ringo Starr All-Star show is. And maybe, perhaps, I was about to say sort of what I remember from the one time I saw it was his birthday show in his 70th birthday. It was 2010 at Radio City with Sir Paul and stuff. So I saw a pretty unusual show, but I'm hoping, why don't you try to explain to folks a little bit, if you would, how the format of the song selection works with all of you cats.
Okay. Basically, it's like a real band. He's not there to play the hit songs that he sang on, which, by the way, there's a multitude of them people have forgotten.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah. And at any rate, the design of it is that it's a real band. And so each guy, in this instance, there's four of us from the outside: Steve Lukather, Richard Page, Todd Rundgren, and myself. And we do 3 songs of hits that we did. And the band plays on all of them. And then on top of that, of course, is Ringo's music, the Beatles stuff, and new music that he's done. And so it makes it up to about an hour and a half. And then we're out, But everybody gets to play their own stuff and songs they sang. And the beauty of the band that he put together this time is that everybody plays everyone else's material like it's their own. There's no there's no slacking on it. It's like I enjoy playing Mr. songs and Todd Rundgren and Toto songs. It's great. And I told that to Lukather, and he goes, "Yeah, that's funny. We like playing your stuff more on our own too." You know, and it's kind of how it happened. It's really pretty unheard of to have this much fun doing it, and I can't wait to go out again and do this Pacific Rim thing. That starts up, and we start rehearsing January 28th. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that, and as I told Ringo, man, anytime, anywhere, give me a call. I'll be glad to come.
It has that sort of vibe when you look at the faces of the cats. You just summed up precisely what I saw in the eyes when I saw it. It was like Edgar Winter, Rick Derringer, Cat from Wally Palmer from the Romantics was in the band. Mark was in the band then. Gregg was in the band. Richard was in the band. That was the band. I just named them all. And the thing in their eyes, what you just said, is exactly the look. And folks were in, you know, and I don't know. I mean, I've heard what you said. Todd said the same thing, that everyone's saying that this lineup really gels better than any other lineup behind the scenes. And Luke said the same thing. Those are the two cats I've already talked to. Yeah. Just as to give you some context. And so my thing about it, I guess, is like, the genius of the show is watching you guys appreciate not only getting to jam with a Beatle, which is in and of itself, you could be playing like nothing and it would be hot, but on top of that, you guys look like you enjoy working on each other's songs and bringing as much to it as you possibly can.
There's no trick to it. If you're enjoying yourself, it really shows. Sooner or later, if you're not, somebody will know. You know, and it is behind the scenes. We enjoy each other's company, period. Everybody gets to be themselves, and it's all accepted, and it's just a no-brainer, and it just doesn't happen with bands that often, where everybody just gets along, and it's wonderful. That's all I can say. On that personal journey of that, you can attest to the way that the dynamics in this band are so different. It comes from decades of working in the business. And through that personal journey, did you get to meet and know the other members of the Beatles? Can you sort of, if you can, just illustrate in a chronological order your experiences with the four Beatles? Oh, I've never met any of the other guys. Okay, wow. In the Beatles. It's just been Ringo. Neat. We did sing Happy Birthday to Paul this last year, and but that's it. Tell us about that. Never met him. I would love to meet Paul McCartney. I mean, it'd be tremendous, but that hasn't happened yet. So. What was the singing Happy Birthday thing? Oh, it was we were in Fallsview, the first, and it was the Ringo Starr All-Starr band, this one, and his birthday came up when we were. I guess it was just prior to the first show, I think it was, and his birthday came up, and Ringo had us sing Happy Birthday and put it on YouTube. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah. That is. Yeah. And so that's as close as I've gotten to that. But, you know, I just, I don't know what else to say about it. The only other thing, if a band is happy and gets along, it's all about the hang. If you can't hang, sooner or later you can't play. And everybody hangs well, and whether we all go to the movies or not doesn't matter. It's like, but usually we all go eat dinner, or I mean, it's a cool. It's like a boys' club, you know. And coincidentally, we get to play music the following day. You know, it's great. I love your outlook, dude. It's why you're probably able to survive so long and continue to be. When you see you're so effervescent, like you were at the Crater just a few years ago when they did that show that you were part of. I was wondering, when you spoke about the not getting along thing and how crucial that could be to screwing something up, would you rank that, or maybe it's something else? What are the biggest challenges of getting to work with so many different people on so much different material in this kind of unusual tour? Going into it, nobody knew what to expect, right? And we've all been in bands, and we all know what bands can be, and it can be troublesome. I ran into Steven Tyler here in Austin when they were here, and he was kind of unaware that I started Santana and Journey, And he goes, "You're kidding," and give me a hug, because I started with 2 minutes. I said, "Yeah, I must be out of my mind because I started 3 or 4 afterwards," and and he laughed at that because he knows how difficult that can be.
It's true.
I mean, their history is well known of how difficult it can be to hold things together, and so getting with Ringo was like nobody knew, and Ringo handled it by, he goes, "Look, it's going to take us a couple days to know each other, and then we'll move on." I just love his attitude about it. It is so. He lets the band be the band, and that's why it worked. And he got great musicians together, and we all care, but nobody's pounding on each other about doing it exact. Or, in fact, it was Lukather that brought up on playing Toto stuff. It had me on a Hammond. He goes, "You're a Hammond player. You should be playing that." I said, "Awesome," because that's what I learned it on.
That's hot, dude.
And it came out a little different, but way cool. And that's what makes it great. Is you're actually playing the way you play. And same thing with him on Black Magic Woman. I don't want you playing exactly, what are we going to be, a top 40 band? You got a bunch of great players. Play your stuff, play it the way you hear it. It'll be great. And that's what we did. And that's under the tutelage of Ringo. He allows that to happen.
Yeah, there's some of the videos that I've seen, in particular, like Evil Ways, Black Magic Woman, when you hear Steve Lukather adding his own thing to these songs, it's what you're hearing is all these cats having fun, adding their own unique flavor, their brand, to each other's stuff, and then Ringo just happens to be there. It's sort of like this really hip jukebox that's sort of alive. The one thing I didn't notice, and maybe there's videos of it, obviously there would be, you guys do any of the Journey stuff?
No, we went after the Santana stuff because, those are all hit songs. The only thing close to, he goes by hit songs, and that made it on the charts. That's the one thing Ringo does put together. And so, Just the Same Way would be one, maybe, Anytime, but it's such a different thing, and they weren't, top 10 hits or anything. And so, that's one of the criteria for this. It's songs that are really well known to everybody, and so he chose those, and I'm glad because in my band, you saw it. My band is nothing but the stuff I did in Santana plus new material that's like it, of which people have asked me, "Is that a Santana song?" I don't know. I said, "No, I wrote it 2 years ago or whatever," and which is a compliment.
That's because of that churning organ, the vocals, the musical style,
and the brand of it and all that stuff. The way that music should sound to me, and so that's what I do. And incidentally, the reason why I've had that band for 10 years, I've never done anything for 10 years, 11 years now, and I've never done anything for 11 years. And the reason why is because of the hang. It really is. It's crucial. I love playing with these guys, and the way my band handles that is very much like what Ringo does, except that my definition of it is we tour steakhouses throughout America and various other countries and coincidentally play music the following day. And that's it.
I remember when you told me that the last time. That's so funny, because you really you get it, that the most important ingredient, perhaps, is that personal happiness, clicking as a unit, and it's probably one of the many things that you've learned as a survivor. I guess when you get a chance, because you are working with a Beatle, you're watching him, no doubt, and you're interacting, you said, a lot off stage. Have there been things you've learned, Gregg? You may not be aware of them, but perhaps there's a thing, and it could be business, it could be personal. Anything you've learned from Ringo or from this?
Oh, yeah. Having a little more patience. It's just the way he handles things. He doesn't get too excited about anything, although I'm sure he can get angry, but I sure haven't seen it. And he just handles himself so well, and he doesn't seem to get too excited about anything, and just, whatever, that's the way it'll go. He doesn't get rattled. And he has a very calming effect, and it's very honest. it's not a put on. People have asked me, what's he like? And I said, well, if you ever seen an interview or a movie or, whatever you saw of Ringo Starr, that's him. That's what he is. That's who he is. It's real. He's funny, quick-witted, and I can't even go there. I'm fairly funny in my band, but between him and Luke, forget it, man. I'm on a second page. I just give up. These guys they're very, very funny, and his humor is very subtle but hilarious.
Have you built a personal relationship with any of the other bandmates?
Like I said, Lukather and Rivera, mainly. Mark Rivera, he's going to put some horns on a thing I'm recording as well. And I went and played with him at a corporate party. He put some guys together, and I brought out my percussionist and my guitarist, and we played some Santana stuff. And I had a ball. It was great. We just became friends. And I think it's imperative, especially as you get older, man. If you can count your friends on one hand, you're fortunate. And, and I got two handfuls now. That's pretty good.
That Rivera gig purely came about as a result of having met through the All-Stars.
Absolutely. He called up and he goes, what do you think? Do you want to do this? And I said, he just wanted me to come in and sit with the group. And I said, you know what? If you talk these guys into taking my percussionist out there and my guitar player, we can play anything. We can play any Santana song you want. And he goes, that would be awesome. And he told me later, he goes, I can't believe that you said yes. I said, why not? We're friends. Why wouldn't I? And it was very enjoyable. I bet you I'd do more of that stuff with him. I really had a good time.
That's a great example, I guess, of what the camaraderie of this tour can yield.
It's all about we just all get along, and it doesn't happen every day.
Well, Brother Gregg, it was great reconnecting, and I will be catching you cats in Sydney, and I'll look for you there. Maybe we'll record a little thing to bring back to Hawaii.
That'd be my pleasure, Dave. No problem.
Be safe, Gregg. Good talking again.
All right, same.
Aloha, brah.
Bye.